it's kind of remarkable how the narrative ever since the Switch 2 has been announced was that the Switch 2 is going to fail. There are no games for it. No one's going to buy this thing. And now that it has come out, now that it has been very successful, now that it has a bunch of games that are selling very, very well, the cope has somehow transitioned into being, oh, the Switch 2 is failing. Oh, like, it's not doing well. Oh, my stock prices. Oh, like, the PS5 outsold it. Oh, like, it's just desperate coping and seething from YouTubers who know that their entire industry hinges on gaslighting Nintendo haters into watching their videos, because nothing any of these people are saying holds any water whatsoever. It's not going to hold up. Nintendo is not struggling. There is no like massive decline. We're at the point where people are doom posting about changes in Nintendo of America's leadership. It is downright delusional. And now what you're seeing is this weird mindset that this year is going to be really bad for Nintendo, that there's going to be nothing else coming out, that they can't just say, have a Nintendo Direct next month and release new stuff. They can't just, announce new games like, no, the Switch has had its moment in the sun and it's had a terrible holiday season. And there's no reason to think that. It's just a gigantic cope. It's actually completely wrong if you look at the actual numbers. But, the industry is very, very desperate to keep up the farce that Nintendo is on the way out for as long as possible. And that is what we're seeing a lot of in this year, is that you're going to see everyone just kind of bend over backwards to try and make excuses, to downplay Nintendo, to do everything they possibly can to keep up the narrative. And like, it's going to seem like a little bit weaker each time. One of the big things that I think is going to happen this year, Power World is going to get screwed in court. Power World's done. They're finished. Nobody talks about them outside of the lawsuit. There is no hope for the company. Bucky is going to be, begging for spare change on the side of the street before he's deported from Tokyo for, not actually being Japanese. Like, that is the future for Pocket Pair. Nintendo is going to get their injunction against them. Power World is not going to be a viable brand going forward. The deal with Sony about creating an animated series is going to fall through. It already has, but, good luck getting people to acknowledge that. We've seen this, like, very quick, very decisive, downfall of this brand that was worshipped by the online gaming community. And it really does need to be said that, like, this is the end result of internet backlash towards Nintendo. Every single time these guys come out and try to hype up something like, say, God of War 2018, or, Horizon Zero Dawn, or like Yakuza 0, Nier Automata, Persona 5, Expedition 33, Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring, The Last of Us Part 2, every time these people come out and do this, they always fail. Like, every time they try and worship some new, like, god, the one true god, Nintendo, defeats them all and proves themselves superior with the best games and the best gaming hardware, and, like, everyone else just kind of copes and seethes. That's kind of where we're at now at this point, is that, like, the industry is desperately trying to keep up the narrative that Nintendo's failing, that they're on the way out, they're not competitive. And in actuality, it's other companies that can't compete with Nintendo, Like, recently we saw, like, Pokemon, the most successful brand in the world is, like, 3 times the size of number 2, Hello Kitty. Mario's getting caught up. It's going to be bigger than Star Wars in the next couple of years. Like, it's remarkable to see, like, all this incredible growth for Nintendo, to the point where they're pretty easily going to outstrip Disney in the next 20 years, I would say. All this growth for Nintendo, surpassing all these, like, iconic franchises. They're going to be, Zelda's going to be bigger than Lord of the Rings. Pokemon's the biggest thing there is. Mario is getting up there. Mario I could see, like, being bigger than Hello Kitty at a certain point, actually. But, like, you look at what Nintendo is doing. you look at like what's actually happening, and you look at like the damage control from the community, and it's all just a gigantic cope. The reality is it is just a gigantic cope. How the industry at large desperately tries to downplay this company, like how they endlessly try and manufacture controversy out of nothing, how they endlessly try and like gaslight people into doing this thing like, well, Nintendo did not make this innovation in gaming. It was actually some other company you've never heard of. Like, it's just a gigantic cope. Wherever you hear it, whenever you people see people talking about it, whenever you hear people try and do that thing where they're like, Zelda was inspired by Ultima. Like, when you hear things like that, like, know always and forever that it's nothing but a gigantic cope. Nobody plays Ultima, nobody plays Crash Bandicoot, nobody plays Uncharted. Okay, those games, which were considered like hallmark titles of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, are completely and utterly forgotten in 2025. And that's just kind of the situation we're in now, is with like that serious gamers are playing like everything that comes out, including Nintendo games, and know that Nintendo is better than the competition in general. And you have the non-gamers, the casuals, the PC players who maybe talk about one game that they know they can grift off of a year, declare it game of the year, and then just collect ad revenue on it. That's just the reality of the online gaming scene at this stage, is that like the major gaming YouTubers, the personalities, have no credibility. When you have guys like Max Dude making entire like YouTube videos talking about like, well, I can't actually take the time to play games, guys, even though I'm a career streamer and I'm here like streaming 8 hours a night. I can't play all these games, guys. Like, when you have like people like Max Dude doing that, you have a problem. These are the guys who are supposed to be like, who are like hyped up as like, this end all be all when it comes to game criticism. These are the guys declaring Expedition 33 to be the best game ever made. These are the guys who are telling you to like support certain companies, and while like telling you that Nintendo sucks and that they're not gonna support them, while they go out and support them. Just look at Mutahar. Like this is like the reoccurring trend we're seeing in the influencer culture, and like that's the term I want to use here, influencer. Like, what exactly are they influencing you to do? They are influencing you to play bad video games so they can line their own pockets. That's their career. If the games were good, you wouldn't need these idiots to sit there and tell you that like, well, Expedition 33 is the best game released this year. No, it's not. It's not even the best RPG released that year. It's just, even in that like very specific hyper like niche category, like, Expedition 33 can't compete. And that is becoming more and more apparent like with every passing year, that like each and every one of these frauds is just kind of exposing themselves as just being a complete and total tool. All of these people are essentially DSP, like they are all virtually the same. Like, they all just want donations. They all just want money. They don't actually care about video games. And that comes through a lot in how they treat and talk about Nintendo. Like, the simple fact of the matter is that so many people are still trying to gaslight you into thinking that the Nintendo Switch 2 has failed, or that like there are no like major sellers on this console, or that it's not doing well. Like, these people are lying to you. And it's high time that we really start like acknowledging just how delusional and out of touch this community actually is. For 2026, like, you are going to see the Switch 2 be massively, massively successful, and you are going to see these people coping and seething about it.